Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll talk about how I recently passed the IBCLC exam and became a lactation consultant. Let's jump straight in. Right, basic information. I started studying for the lactation exam from April last year and the exam was September. So it took about 5 months in total. I passed the exam in September last year, so you're automatically certified from the 1st of the 1st the next year if you sit the September exams. In total, there are 3 materials I used, and I found all 3 of them really useful, so I'm going to share with you. The first one is called Health e-learning courses, and they are the Breast and Lactation Studies series. I'll link it down below. And I did the package courses from 1 till 10. So there are 10 courses in total. That's $135 US dollars each. And there was a package that if you buy all 10 together, the expiry date is 12 months, which to me it was more than enough. And so I can study everything and then go back to it. Number 2 was a book, and this is a really popular book. It's called Comprehensive Lactation Consultant Exam Review by Linda Smith. And that book is just literally questions, like all multiple choice questions. The third one is called Lactation Education Resources IBCLCE Exam Review. So that's an exam review as well, which was 99 US dollars. And I'll also link that down below. So these 3 have been very important, and I don't think I would have been confident to take the exam without any of them. So this was an online course, and I did from 1 to 10. The benefits of this is that it's online, very easy access, and I did a lot of the grinding and reading through at cafes and some of it at work. Second benefit is that it is really easy to read, as in like there's short paragraphs, there's bolded sentences, there's hyperlinks to more information, and they don't just chunk a bunch of text at you and expect you to read it. And I found it really interactive. They had lots of dot points and lots of pictures. And I'm someone who is really bad at reading. Like if it's a book and it's got long paragraphs, I'll automatically lose focus and not know where I'm up to and not feel like reading the rest. So I feel like this course was one of the most easiest things to read. Everything came in kind of like a PowerPoint form where you can guide yourself and then you can look into further information if you need to. Number 3 is that all of the courses and the information I learned were really, really useful. And I honestly learned so much from this course, like more than I did for my entire midwifery degree. Number 4 is that there are worksheets that you can fill through, and I'll show you a screen recording later, which will highlight the important information and work as a study guide. There are also quizzes for each course, and you have to get more than 80% to get the certificate for the course because it also counts as like studies hours. So the book, benefits of the book. The book is filled with 950 questions and 300 photos and 30 case studies. So it's a lot of question and lots of multiple choice. I mean, they're all multiple choice questions. And what I found most useful about the book is that it helps you to learn how to do multiple choice questions, which you would think is really obvious. You pick the right answer. But I've always been bad at it. Like I can deduct 2 answers and then I kind of guesstimate between the 2 other ones that seem like the right answer. And I can confidently say that after 500 questions, my brain kind of helped me process and pick the right answers out of like the 2 similar answers because of all the practice, it really helps you to learn what type of answers the lactation consultant exam is looking for in their multiple choice questions. And the second biggest benefit is that I was learning as I was doing the questions, because they actually have a rationale for each of the answer of each question, and they explain why they're not the right answer and why the right answer is the right answer, which really helps me to learn some additional information. Some of the areas I was lacking knowledge in was things like the code of conduct, the baby-friendly hospital initiative, types of breastfeeding damage and infections. So this book has a lot of pictures and it helps me differentiate between different types of breastfeeding damage, what this is caused by, what that picture is caused by, different infections. And it also has some of like infant pictures where you guess the age of the infant or their like milestones, which you don't really get to know in your midwifery career. I've got to say that there is something that's not great about the book is that some of the answers at the back are wrong. And I know that there is a corrected version somewhere online, but I didn't actually end up checking, like fact checking the right answers because the wrong answers were obviously wrong. The third one, which I think is the most value for money. So it's $99, and this is purely an exam practice resource. I found that the wording and the way these questions are written are the most similar to the actual exam, but they're not the same questions. I don't think any of the questions that they give you are the exact same because you actually have to sign like a privacy consent form for when you take the exam. So there are 500 questions and you're able to time the questions and you're able to flexibly select how many questions you want to do in each go, and they'll give you a time frame for it. So what I did is that I would do like 10 questions at a time when I don't have a lot of time, when I'm not that committed, and I would do like 50 practice questions at a time, just to kind of get my head in it for when I have time. And you can also set it to like 175 questions, which is the same as the actual exam. There is also a YouTube video that's an exam prep. So it's just two people talking about some of the medications. They still give you a couple of examples of practice exam questions. So that's actually how I found this resource, and I highly recommend it. It is so useful. The 500 questions really helped me, and they actually calculate the percentage of how many you get right. So I did horribly when I first started, and this was after like 500 practice exam questions with the Linda Smith book. So I started with like 60% pass rate, which was way below passing mark. And after lots of practicing, I got to about over 80%. That's when I became sort of more confident that I would actually pass the exam. So before I took the exam, I actually did two timed 175 questions, just to see what my passing rate was. Also, like online flashcards, which was really useful for when I don't want to grind questions. So how I studied for the exam. So I started studying in April, and I had 5 months in total, and there were 10 courses to go through, which to me was a lot of studying. I did each course in a fortnight, and I would give myself a fortnight to complete each course, and that's from Health e-learning. And out of the all the courses in Health e-learning, some of the courses like courses one and two, you actually have to like write down notes and actually learn the information because they're the fundamentals of breastfeeding and breast milk. And some of the courses, like the public health, the communication courses, they're also really useful, but they're the sort of things that you don't have to write notes for. Like, you wouldn't have to write notes for, like, how to communicate with someone. You kind of just read through it and you can absorb the information. So I did that, and then I had about 1.5 months till the exam. That's when I finished all of the content from health e-learning, and that's when I started revision. So I reviewed all the theory. I didn't have time to do everything, so I reviewed all of my notes from the healthy learning course, and that's when I started doing the practice questions from the Linda Smith book. I signed up for the LER through panic less than a month before the exam. That's when the pressure really gets to you. And I did online questions of like groups of 50 and groups of 10. And then eventually I did 175 questions before the actual exam. And I'll put through like my exams, my study schedule for the last few days here on the screen so you can have a look. Other resources that I would recommend is the Breastfeeding Atlas book. I've actually, one of my colleagues had it and I flipped through it when I had time. I didn't look through like every single image in detail, but this book is really useful because it's all pictures, and the picture questions are definitely the questions I had more trouble with because they're more like diagnosis, like what do you think this is? What do you think that is? Do you think this positioning is correct? Like how old do you think this infant is? So all of those images are really helpful. So I would have got that myself if I had time. I don't think there was enough time for shipping at the time. I also had a very general breastfeeding textbook, which I just borrowed from the library when I got the Linda Smith book. So that book is very, very basic compared to all of the like health e-learning stuff. And I flipped through some of the more difficult things I had trouble with, and it really just helped me gain confidence. It's not necessary, but if you do see one, just borrow it anyway. I didn't actually do the official IBCLCE practice exam. I googled whether this was better compared to the LER practice questions, and most of the feedback seemed to suggest that the LER was better. So that's the one I went with. So I can't really comment on how the actual official practice exam is. And the reason I didn't get it is that it doesn't actually tell you what the right answers are. So I don't think you can look back and go through everything like you can do with the rest of the resources. Hot tips for when you sit the exam. Oh, there is this table from the lactation consultant exam page, and it tells you what they will test for and what area. So I think it's very important for you to look through every single line and find out whether you know what that is and whether you've done test questions or whether you can quiz yourself for your own knowledge for that specific area, because it literally tells you to test for it. So study for that. Number 2, learn how to answer multiple choice questions. I reckon that's the most important thing. And even though I knew all of the knowledge from the health e-learning, there's no way I would have passed the exam without doing so many practice exam questions. But I've been told when I was studying for the LC exam by another lactation consultant, she said that, oh, the exam is really easy because out of all the answers, you always pick for the one that promotes and protects breastfeeding. And if it's asking for management, you always look at positioning and attachment first before other types of management. So every time I look at a question, that's what goes through my head. And personally, I found that really useful. Number 3, wear layers to the exam. my exam venue wasn't too hot, but I've heard that sometimes they don't allow jackets, so I wore a hoodie instead and wear a layer underneath so you can take it off. It's a 4-hour exam. You get a 10-minute break in between, and the worst thing that can happen is you freezing to death and have to use your brain to answer questions. And that is all for my hot tips of how to pass the lactation consultant exam. I really hope it's helpful. I was freaking out totally myself, but I passed. I'm not excited for the next one that's in 5 years' time. So just for your information, if you're interested to know, the passing score for the exam in September 22 was 124. So there were 175 questions and they were all accounted for. And my score was 144. So if you are using the LER course, I would recommend doing it until you get over 80%. Then you should be all good. And good luck, everyone. Wish you all the best for your exam. And I would love to know how you go. If you think this is helpful, please come back and comment on it and let me know. All right, all the best. Bye.